From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Friday, September the 11th, 2020. We open with more groundbreaking news just ahead of the signing of the Abraham Accord between Israel and the United Arab Emirates this coming Tuesday in Washington, D.C. Another Arab country is now set to join in. U.S. President Donald Trump announced that the small Gulf nation of Bahrain has agreed to establish full diplomatic relations with Israel. Trump tweeted, "Another historic breakthrough today. Our two great friends, Israel and the Kingdom of Bahrain, agreed to a peace deal, the second Arab country to make peace with Israel in 30 days. The White House released a joint statement saying the president, Bahrain's King Hamad bin Salman Al Khalifa, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke today and agreed to the establishment of full diplomatic relations between Israel and the Kingdom of Bahrain. Netanyahu had prepared a statement before Shabbat praising the agreement, which he wrote follows the historic peace agreement with the UAE. Netanyahu wrote, "It took us 26 years to get from the second peace agreement with an Arab state to the third peace agreement. And it took us not 26 years, but 29 days to reach the peace agreement between the third Arab state and the fourth Arab state. And there will be more." Netanyahu added, "This is a new era of peace, peace in exchange for peace, economy in exchange for economy. We have invested in peace for many years, and now peace will invest in us." Netanyahu will depart on Sunday for the United States for the signing of the UAE deal, which will take place at the White House on Tuesday, September the 15th. And Bahrain will now join that ceremony with its foreign minister, Abdulatif Al-Zayani, and Netanyahu signing a historic declaration of peace. The prime minister will return to Israel Tuesday night. Meanwhile, a visit from an Emirati delegation to Israel may be delayed or altered because of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Israel's Minister of Science, Yizhar Shai, told a local radio station today that it appears the visit will either be postponed or a special procedure will be required. In light of a possible national lockdown being discussed that would be imposed across Israel due to the growing cases of the virus and concern over hospital capacity. The visit had reportedly been scheduled for September the 22nd as a reciprocal gesture following an Israeli delegation's visit to Abu Dhabi on August the 31st. Israel will bring over 2,000 Ethiopian immigrants to the country this year. Netanyahu's office announced that Israel's government allocated $51 million in this effort. This is part of a plan presented last year by Immigration Absorption Minister Pnina Tamano-Shata, who herself is an Ethiopian-born Israeli, for bringing 10,000 Ethiopians with Jewish ancestry to Israel over the next 3 years. The hopeful Olim, new immigrants to Israel, have been living in temporary camps in Addis Ababa and Gondar under difficult conditions for years in order to make Aliyah immigrate to Israel. Well, dozens of objects that belong to the Holocaust survivor who inspired the 2002 film The Pianist are going up for auction. Desa Unicum, an auction house in Poland, will sell 51 items, including the Steinway piano of Władysław Szpilman, on September the 22nd. The Warsaw-based firm said on its website, Szpilman, who is known as one of Poland's foremost composers and concert pianists, died in 2000. Austria said it will cover all costs to make sure its Jewish community is safe and secure. The Austrian government signed an agreement yesterday with the country's Jewish community, allotting federal funds to secure Jewish institutions in the amount of $4.7 million a year. Chancellor Sebastian Kurz tweeted, "The last weeks have shown that we have to act together to protect Jewish life in Austria even more determinedly. That's why we as a state will support the Jewish community with its increased security costs." referring there to the assault reported last month of the leader of the Jewish community of Graz, Eli Rosen, believed to have been anti-Semitic in nature. The Jewish community in Vienna's president, Oscar Deutsch, said the law enables a consolidation of the religious community. It secures the existence and thus the diverse services of the Jewish community in Vienna as we currently know it. Well, today, of course, marks the somber anniversary of the devastating terror attacks on the United States on September the 11th of 2001. Jewish organizations here in the U.S. shared their grief and remembrance, as did Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu tweeted, "Today we remember all those who perished in the greatest terrorist crime in history committed on September 11th, 2001. We shall always stand with the United States and free people everywhere in fighting the evil of terrorism." And the IDF wrote, "We stand together with the American people in remembering the victims of the September 11th terror attacks and vow to never forget. May their memory be a blessing." Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Friday, September the 11th. Live Shabbat services are coming up at 6 o'clock from New York City's Central Synagogue, followed by Kabbalat Shabbat services from the Hampton Synagogue. At 8, the Barefoot Contessa Ina Garten speaks at the 92nd Street Y. At 9, it's the film Circumcise Me. At 10 o'clock, a concert from Hazamir Kfar Saba, then a replay of the Hampton Synagogue services, followed by a replay of the Central Synagogue services. And coming up next, it's a look at this week's Torah portion. And a programming note for you ahead of the high holidays. Tomorrow night, Saturday night at 9 o'clock and 10:30 respectively, JBS will air 2 Slichot services, the first from Central Synagogue and then from the Hampton Synagogue. And for next weekend, make a note on your calendars. JBS will bring you live services for the high holidays beginning next Friday, September the 18th, the eve of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. And this year, it's a historic first. JBS will be televising Reform, Orthodox, and Conservative services. Friday night, a Reform Erev Rosh Hashanah service from Central Synagogue at 6 o'clock, followed by Orthodox services from the Hampton Synagogue at 7:30, and then at 10 p.m. Eastern, Conservative services from the Sinai Temple in Los Angeles. For all days and times of the high holiday services, which will of course continue next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, please check our website, jbstv.org. And that's the JBS News Update for Friday, September the 11th, 2020. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy, stay well, and Shabbat Shalom.